Hi everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Jonathan here with another Vectorworks video, and today we're going to look at something a bit fun, which is some animated text and how to do amazing 3D text and signage. You'll notice that we've got an amazing Vectorworks promotion on, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to tell you about that, but also show you in a tutorial how to work with text in 3D and some of the amazing things you can do with Vectorworks. So let's jump into the tutorial and make sure you hang around, and I'll tell you about the promotion later if you're interested, but let's jump in. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do is go up to our text tool and change our text size to quite a large text size, 144 point, and let's just type in some text that we're looking to animate. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to make this text into wonderful 3D text and things like filleting and chamfering as well. So there we go, we've got some text. So then we go up to the text menu, and basically we can go to convert the text to polylines. Now what this does is basically converts the text into a group of polygons, which you can then ungroup. And of course, the most important thing is you can now extrude this into 3D text. So this is already very, very straightforward and very easy as a way of generating quick 3D text. You don't have every single font, but most of the fonts are available as well. There is a way that you can actually do this with editable text, but I'll actually do this in another video for you. So let's carry on with our second line of our 3D text. And basically, let's just see how this works. So let's just reduce that font size a little bit here, and basically carry on editing by double clicking our text tool and carry on typing. So as you can see, we do have an amazing offer on that I was going to tell you about anyway during the course of the video for 50% off Vectorworks Design Suite for new users. And this is something that is unbelievable in that you can get 50% off this year and next year as well. Now, Design Suite has all the various software you ever need for architecture, landscape, and interiors. So I'll tell you a bit more about that later. But you can see that I've already made some rapid progress by converting my text to polylines and then extruding it. So I can also sort of add a few things like colors into that just by choosing different fill colors. And already our text is starting to look good, and we can kind of spin around in 3D using the flyover tool. So the shortcut for that tool, of course, is Shift and C. And don't forget that if you do want to, we can now actually basically go in and do a bit of editing. So if I do want to scale that down, just hold Shift down. So I'm just going to scale that down so that aligns to the kind of higher level group, if you like. And basically, let's have a look and see how this looks. I can adjust that extrusion height anytime using Object Info. And one of the nicest things about Vectorworks is the editability of your 3D objects, just by double clicking or by editing directly in Object Information. So here we are on a black screen with our grid on. I thought I'd experiment by seeing how this looked in the dark mode. I think what we'll do next is actually just basically get a rectangle tool using the secondary mode. And of course, remember to use the U key to change those modes. I can now extrude using a negative extrusion. So because I've extruded downwards, you'll notice that it's actually gone below. So this is actually really cool. Now, one extra little touch is to add some nice shadows to bring out the depth of the image here. So in order to do this, I'm going to go into my shaded options, and you'll notice that I've just added a heliod on. I just want to check those settings within the shaded options to see how they're looking. So already we've got these wonderful shadows, and now I can actually start to search for some materials and some textures. So if you go to the resource manager in Vectorworks, we can type in the word chrome, for example. Just make sure you're looking for textures, and there's a huge selection of textures available just to drag and drop. Don't forget, with my website, I also make beautiful texture libraries, and we've got like 360 texture packs on there available for you to download and basically use. So do remember to have a look at the website and all the different libraries that I make and supply for Vectorworks. So having dragged on a couple of material textures now, I want to see the effect of that by actually going in, turning in things like the object reflections. And you can see we've got some nice reflections now coming into that text. So it definitely looks a little bit more reflective and three-dimensional, nice shadows, and definitely things like reflections as well. Okay, so I'll move my heliod on. I might experiment with a few different times if I want to play around with those shadows, but overall, this is looking pretty good in a rapid space of time. Okay, so it's coming on nicely. I want to now just do a bit of work on refining the textures. So if I right click and edit these textures, you'll notice that it's very straightforward to go into things like metallic channel and edit some of those colorations to get that nice sort of red glossy material on that texture there. Also, we can basically edit the texture and do the main color as well. So if you click edit here, you can actually edit the overall coloration, just to introduce a little bit of color into that material itself. So rendering with Vectorworks textures is super easy. There's a big selection of these, and editing them is actually very, very straightforward too. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is basically start to set up some save views so that we can begin to prepare our animation. Now, all I need to do here is basically put the camera into the various views. I'm going to actually just change this to perspective mode and basically right click and update that first view, or redefine. So that's redefined that view one. Now I can move into a perspective mode. Let's use my fly round tool just to adjust that a little bit more to the angle I want to. And I'll click new and type in V2. Let's swing this camera around to the other side and basically frame that up, just pan across with the spacebar. And once you've got this done, we can now create another view. So let's right click and create V3. And you'll see how we can easily use these save views to animate in a minute. I'm also just going to kind of make my little dialogue a little bit smaller just because I want a nice tight fit. So using the object information, I can just type in 14 meters in there and just sort of modify that a little bit as well. So let's review our views. So if we double click on these views, you can see it animates between them, although very, very rapidly. I'm going to show you how to slow this down by editing, go to custom and basically put a really nice little transition. Let's go for something like 3 or 4 seconds. And now when I double click, you'll notice we get that lovely smooth animation, just kind of moving between those images every single time. Now I want to probably turn off that rather distracting 3D axis. So just go into your grid settings to do that. And don't forget, you should always check your grid in Vectorworks, whatever project you ever do. It could be that there's a invisible construction grid there behind the scenes. So one more little trick, I'm going to basically go into my Vectorworks preferences, and under interactive appearance with Vectorworks, you can actually customize all the different colors that you might need to change. So I'm just changing some of these general background colors for the 3D view, just to get a really nice kind of pure white background rather than the slightly greeny blue one, which is the default. So very happy, this looks much nicer already. And you can see that my save views are working very, very well to get that lovely animation. Okay, so I've made a couple of tweaks to the base texture. I wanted a bit more contrast on the base that the model was sitting on, so I've kind of used like a bronzy texture on there. I've also decided it looks really good on a black background, so I'm basically just changing my general settings of the interactive appearance so that when I'm in 3D, I get this nice sort of black kind of view behind. So when we click OK, let's put it into 3D view. You can now see that I've got this nice, very contrasty black background for my text. So if we do want to, we can basically animate a couple of views here. I've created one more save view, which does a little bit of a zoom in. And basically then this is looking really, really nice. So I'm very happy with the textures and the materials and the animation and things like the lighting already. So we're going to do a couple of little refinements on the modeling now, just to bring out some extra little tweaks and touches. So I'm really keen to show you how we can do things like the Fillet tool. Okay, so with the Fillet tool, just remember to go up into the options and select maybe the faces. This makes life a bit easier than doing all the edges individually. So I'm holding Shift down and I'm just trying to be a bit careful about selecting these top faces of the text here. Now remember, it's not really text, this is actually extruded polygon. So when I click my green tick, you'll notice I've got a beautiful little fillet, which creates some really nice highlights on my model now. Let's do the same thing with the chamfer tool. So basically here I'm going to chamfer. I'm just going to hold Shift down and carefully select all the top edges of the Vectorworks text here. Just be a bit careful that you don't kind of select the wrong thing. And when I'm ready, I'll be able to click the green tick to apply this chamfer to all of these items in one single click. Now this is one of the best things with Vectorworks 3D. It really is scalable and it will work on lots of objects at the same time. And the most important thing is these will all be editable afterwards. So as you can see, we've got that lovely little fillet and chamfer there. If I do want to go and increase that, I'll just go to Object Info and increase to a certain limit, of course, with that chamfer. But that creates some really nice little extra detail. I think what I do is try and increase the radius on that fillet as well. And you know, there will be a limit, a maximum that it can do depending on the thickness of those items. So just be aware of that. Fantastic. So we've made some other nice little tweaks. It's always really nice just to review what we're doing as we're going along. But basically now I just want to do a nicer little texture. So I'm going to create a brand new one. And this time I'm going to load in an image file, which is a really nice sort of Vectorworks design suite background. And you'll see how this creates a brand new texture. So I'm going to change over to plane and type in the object size, which of course I know, 14 meters. Do make sure that you match the size of the texture to that object size. And what this means is this will map correctly when you actually kind of add it into the dialogue. So let's click OK. I just want to kind of darken down the reflection map of the texture a little bit. But other than that, I think I'm ready to drag and drop my new Renderworks texture onto that background. And wow, that looks fantastic already. We've got this really nice graphic applied to our rectangle, which just looks so good and adds so much detail. So I'm really, really happy with my little animated ad coming on here. And this is just something that you can easily do in Vectorworks to create 3D signage and text or any of your projects as you need to. So with a couple of final tweaks, I've decided I'm just going to kind of reposition those models, just make sure that you kind of like don't move them three-dimensionally. So I might just pop back into top plan to do that and basically move it up, and let's have a little look how that works. So always better to move things in top plan view, just so you don't snap three-dimensionally to something else. So we're nearly ready with our final kind of animation now. Let's just double click and review. Already this is looking really, really fantastic. Let's just tweak the texture material channel one more time. I'm keen to basically add in a little bit of a darker material here. Remember, you can actually change the image if you want to, but actually it's the reflection channel I want to change, and I want to make that a little bit darker so it's a bit less contrasty and great. Fantastic, very, very happy. Okay, so here we go. Let's do a final review of our animation, and then we'll be able to export this out and use it in our advert that we're creating. So what a great way to use Vectorworks to create some really fun animated text. But of course, seriously, you can do this with architectural presentation or landscape designs as well. And I've used this quite a bit in my live dynamic presentations when I'm actually delivering to real clients. And they find it really, really helpful because you can kind of storyboard your presentation. So here we are, our final advert, just recording at full screen and in all its glory. I hope you enjoy this short tutorial on how to make animated text with Vectorworks. It's been really, really good fun to make. And I would love to see you come for some training or give me a call if I can help in any other way. So one final thing I just wanted to do here was touch on the clip cube just to see how this looked. Up on the mode bar, we've got the clip cube, and basically with the clip cube selected, you'll notice that you can actually basically live section through that model. Okay, so the very final thing I want to talk about is this amazing promotion we've got on at the moment. Now this is only on until September the 9th. And basically you will get Vectorworks Design Suite for 50% off, not just for 1 year, but also for 2 years as well, if you carry on with that subscription. Now with Vectorworks Design Suite, of course, you get all versions of Vectorworks included: Vectorworks Architect, Vectorworks Landmark, and Spotlight 2, as well as Fundamentals. It's very easy to switch between the workspaces and run whichever workspace you want to. So if you would like to find out more about this amazing promotion, please reach out to me for information on this and training, or anything else I can help with on Vectorworks, Enscape, Twinmotion, or even D5 Render. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.